Fans, who here loves bacon, pork chops, or maybe ham? Most of us, if not all of us, raise our hands to that question. And if I were to ask you, most of us would know that all these products come from a pig. But most people don't know the process to which baby pigs are born and raised to maturity. I hope that by the end of my speech, you will have a working knowledge of how we go from a small piglet to bacon on our plates. Now, obviously, I can't fit in every single process within this small speech, so I'm just going to talk about some few aspects. Of course, a good place to start with this topic is how the baby pig develops inside the mother after AI, or artificial insemination after the sow is bred. Gestation is the period of time in which the baby pig develops and grows inside the mom, or the sow. The sow may not look pregnant until 3 weeks before the delivery. The gestation period usually lasts for 114 days. An easy way to remember this is 3 months, 3 weeks, and 3 days. In the first 35 days of gestation, the pig is developing its skeletal growth inside the sow. If it dies within the mother in this time, it can be reabsorbed. Anytime after it can't because it has a skeleton. Once the mom is bred, she is moved into a gestation crate. A gestation crate is basically just a small pen that the mom stays in there until her pigs are delivered. She usually has minimal movement inside the crate, not to be mean to the sow, but so that she doesn't crush her sow or pigs, or maybe lashes out and kills them. You will know in the delivery soon when the vulva of the sow swells, the stomach drops, and there's black discharge coming from the sow. Sometimes deliveries can result in stillborns, or a dead pig that was born before dead before birth. In other words, it never had a chance to live. It can also result in a mummy, which is a pig that died very early on in the developing cycle, and they're usually brown and very tiny because they never developed. Some of the reasons of stillborns are maybe the umbilical cord gets cut within the sow, and they basically kind of drown inside the sow. Or maybe they have low vitality, which means they're just weak, they're too weak to live, or they just might not be developed. Some signs to know that the sow is done is there's a lot of afterbirth present, and if you arm the sow, you may not feel any pigs. The typical sow has a litter of 12 to 14 pigs, and in her lifetime, she will produce 3 to 5 litters. Now that the pigs are born and walking around, we can shift gears to the treatment and caretaking of them. You normally process pigs 3 days after they are born, but you can wait if needed if the pigs are too weak. Now, depending on the barn that you work at, processing hogs can involve different processes, but I'm only going to talk about a few. One of them is tail docking or cutting off of the tail. This isn't just to be mean to the pig either. This is to reduce biting because hogs can be very cannibalistic, and if the tail gets infected, then the hog can die. Another thing that they do is cutting the needle teeth, which are very sharp teeth within the mouth of the baby pig. This is to avoid cutting of the sow's udder or cutting of other baby pigs. Another thing that they do is castration of the males or cutting out of the testicles of male pigs. This is especially important to wait because sometimes the male pigs are too small and it's too much of a shock, or maybe the testicles haven't been developed yet. Another important thing is cutting of the umbilical cord. This is if it's dried up. This is just for the convenience of the pig so it doesn't get wrapped around anything. And another thing you can do is iron shots. You can tell if a baby pig needs iron shots if it's pale looking. If you do not give it iron, it can result in iron deficiency or anemia, which can result in a weak or deaf pig. Now, of course, not every delivery of pigs is perfect. Hogs, like any other mammals, can contract diseases. Some of the diseases have a high mortality rate, while others are treatable. I'll start with the PRRS virus. PRRS stands for Porcine Reproductive and Respiratory Syndrome. This is the most difficult of the viruses that pigs can develop because the baby pigs don't react well to the vaccine given to them. Some symptoms of PRRS are diarrhea, swollen joints, fever, or just generally sick. As you can see in the picture, it just doesn't look like a good hog, or respiratory problems. The PRRS virus is immunosuppressive, which means it attacks the immune system in the pigs, much like the AIDS virus in humans. PRRS can be airborne, which causes a big problem, but it can be caught with the use of filters, but these filters can be very expensive. Next, I'll move on to strep. Now, strep is more treatable than PRRS. If it's caught early on in the cycle of the pigs, it will result in low death. Some symptoms of strep are swollen joints and paddling. When I say paddling, the pig will be laying on its side and it looks like it's almost trying to swim in midair. It can't walk. Next, I'll talk about ammonia. Ammonia-like strep can be caught early and have a low mortality rate if it is caught early. Some symptoms are a lethargic pig, it won't eat, and it has very laborious breathing. You will see the sides going in and out you can really see them coming out. That's to show that it's trying to catch a good breath, but it can't. And next I'll talk about splay leg. Now splay leg isn't actually a disease, it's actually a nerve or muscle development problem. As you can see in the picture, the legs are spread out and the baby pig cannot walk. This happens because the sow had PRRS while the baby pigs were developing. It is treatable by tape. You tape around the neck and down the spine, and then you tape around the thighs. Now sadly this treatment is painful, but it's supposed to be, because then they will be forced to walk and the muscles will develop and become stronger. This usually isn't lethal, but what can cause problems is if it can't move, it can move out of the sow, which can cause crushing, or it might starve. Now, like I said earlier, I can't fit every process in, so after they're done being processed, they move to a nursery where they'll be fed, and then they'll be moved to another barn called the finisher, where they'll turn into the big fat hogs we imagine today when we hear the word pig. Most people don't give a second thought to the process in which we get pork products inside of our grocery stores and ultimately to our dinner plates. I hope that you remember that there is a lot of hard yet fun and interesting work involved in the processing and developing of baby pigs into fat pigs that are ready for market. This is just a small portion of the work that goes into the production of pork, but I hope that this speech gave you a general idea of just how pork production works.